I'm Alli. I came out after 20 years of marriage and I have 3 kids.
I'm Melisa and I have 2 kids and I came out at 37 after an 11-year marriage.
This podcast is about coming out later and the struggles and victories that come with it.
When coming out feels like the end of the world, but it's really just the beginning.
This is the Lesbian Chronicles. Welcome to the Lesbian Chronicles. The
Breakup edition.
The Breakup Heartbreak Hotel edition.
Heartbreak Hotel.
There's always, every day that I look at if I look at anything, there's always at least one message about heartbreak.
Absolutely. And I think, we do focus a lot on the heartbreak that comes with the husband and the first catalyst relationship, ending. But the one that I have felt hit hardest is the one that's lasted a long time, that you were really hopeful about.
Yeah.
And then rugs pulled out from underneath you. Those are tough, man.
They are tough. And it's I think it was interesting for me to listen to some other people's perspectives on breakups, because there is really solid advice in there. It's kind of like when your marriage ended, you grieve the loss of the dream that you had. Mm-hmm. And one of the women that we spoke to for this episode, she mentions that. And that resonated with me, because it is there's a grieving process that you go through if have depth and you were invested in this relationship. And I do think it's really hard. You're excited about something that then just goes away.
And I think also a lot of us aren't taught how to recover from this.
Yeah.
There's no guidebook that's really presented to you. And especially coming out later in life, the breakups that we had as teenagers didn't really impact us that much because we weren't that invested. And we only know how to react in these situations. We don't know how to digest it.
Right.
And so I think that all the people that have submitted stuff to us that have been through this have really solid advice and great perspective on how to get through this hard thing.
Right. And I think too, many times you might be the one breaking up and it's still hard, or you might be the one who was broken up with, which is hard. And what nobody did mention that I thought was interesting is the feeling of rejection, of oh, they didn't want me. I'm not good enough. I'm not, who's going to love me? They didn't.
That's really interesting. And this could be a whole other episode too. I was just talking to Christine about this morning. And that sometimes the thing that is the most painful isn't necessarily that we've lost this relationship. That relationship was full of red flags that we just couldn't see. Yeah. It's the rejection aspect.
Yeah, it's what the hell? Okay, God, they don't want me?
They don't want me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who is going to want me?
Right.
So, well, do you want to dive in and listen to our first?
Yeah. Well, let's first let people know. So we put it out there that people could record to a few key people that we knew had been through a heartbreak, had them record a short kind of synopsis on tools that they use to get through the heartbreak. And so these we found really compelling. So let's dive in.
I would say there's a healing that comes from listening to music. Knowing somebody else is going through the same pain, or your heart feels heard or seen. Adele at this time just kind of feels like me. And so I see myself in her music. And it's really cathartic. As far as friends, I have this amazing, beautiful group of women at my brokerage. And real estate can be kind of cutthroat. But not these women. These women, they're unlike anybody else. They have kindness. They have love in their heart. I am the baby of our group by quite a lot of years. And they never, ever make me feel out of place. Always make me feel protected. Always love on me, check on me. They're the moms and sisters of my life. And they've got me through my hardest times. And I couldn't have done it this year without them. One woman in particular is a leader at our brokerage, and she is someone I have looked up to and confided in, and She has been a constant, always checking on me, always encouraging me, telling me she's proud. And that kind of love, that's life-changing, especially when your heart is just shattered. And I would say that when you have lost the woman you love and there's no coming back from that, that this type of female friendship and this type of female leadership reinvigorates your trust in women again. And even though it's not romantic and it's strictly platonic, it's still healing, still beautiful, still soul-giving. So thank you to those women in my life, and I love all of you. I hope this helps someone.
Whew, that you can just feel the sadness.
Absolutely. Like the heaviness.
The heaviness.
Like it's still there.
Yeah.
It sounds like she really has some great people surrounding her. And like, that's again, like we say 1,000 times on the podcast, like this is why it's important to have your people that have your back in these situations, because you never know, like your relationship can be going amazing. And the next thing you know, you find out that they don't want to be in it or they cheated or whatever. And you've got to have people there to pick you up.
Totally. And just
remind you who you are.
Have plans with and to, go do things. She mentioned the moms and sisters of my life, and it doesn't mean her mom and her sister. It means like the moms and sisters of my life. I have those people that are like my sisters, basically. That how many times have we checked on each other? And she mentions that, like people checking on you, like it's, and that's such a kindness. I think if you know someone going through something, is because sometimes people don't want to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, I'm hurting." It's nice to have someone say, "I'm checking on you," because it opens the door for then me to say, "I'm hurting right now. I'm actually suffering right now." So it's like, that is such a kindness to have friends that think to do that.
And we need to remember to be those friends.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Like be that friend that if you know that your friend is going through a breakup, like reach out to them. It doesn't have to be every day, but every couple days, I'm thinking about you.
Yeah.
How are you?
How are you? I'm checking on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you have planned? Can we get lunch? Like putting things in their way that make it easy for them to unload it. Because sometimes that's the hardest part, is just like picking up the phone and saying, this horrible thing just happened.
Right.
Like you want people to know you're hurting and then check on you. So I think that's lovely. The other thing that she mentioned that I thought was really interesting is learning how to trust. Like she's got this solid group of friends that are allowing her to trust women, because sometimes when you've been hurt by a woman or a man, but your mind goes to everybody sucks, I can't trust anyone. And it's, if you have these really solid women in your life, I think it does help you learn to trust women. There are trustworthy, great women.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's also what you need to look at when you feel that like scarcity mindset of like, oh, this just ended and that person was perfect. But then like, look at the women around you in your life. Not that you're necessarily attracted to those specific women, but here's all these good people in your life.
Great examples.
Like, there's great examples right there in front of you. It means like there's other people out there for you.
There was a book about attachment styles and kind of like anxious attached people and all different kinds of attachment styles that somebody on the pod recommended. But it talks about like neuroplasticity and like your neural pathways that get, like if you've been burned 100 times, your brain changes. There are changes that can be seen on an MRI in your brain. So it's you start to just, the pathways are strengthened of, that's what your mind goes to. That's what you think. I'm going to get hurt again, hurt again, hurt again. So it's like that neuroplasticity of having these strong friendships that are positive and healthy, and these strong, great women that are trustworthy women help to change that mindset to, there are great women. Like I'm not, out there looking for something that doesn't exist.
That's really interesting. So it's like your brain is like damaged, essentially.
Your brain is damaged.
But it's repairable.
It's repairable. And so you have to give your brain new food that shows that this is, I'm going to be okay. Like I might have gotten bitten by the dog 100 times, but now I need to have 200 positive dog experiences that make me not scared of the dog and make my brain not go to, you're going to fucking hurt me.
Those bitches.
Those fucking bitches. Anyway, so I thought that was also really interesting. I thought about that when she said learning to trust women again. Is that was an interesting way of putting it, because I think that is so true. Like, if you get hurt enough by women, pretty soon you're like, all these women suck.
Yeah. You group them all together.
Yeah. And I think that's not fair. So I appreciate that message, and I think it's hopeful as well. She uses music too to kind of, and I do that. Like, I have songs that I listen to when I'm feeling a certain way, and I think that is helpful.
Music is one of those funny things to me. Like, if I am going through something painful, like, I can't listen to, like, it's like suddenly every sad song applies to me.
Yeah.
I can't listen to it. So I know I'm in a good spot in my life if I'm like able to listen to like Taylor Swift's breakup songs. And
yes. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Yeah. You can judge how you're doing based on your ability to listen to music.
And if I'm really mad, I'm listening to like heavy metal.
Yeah.
The rapper NF. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
He's like Eminem, but with thoughtful lyrics.
Oh, okay.
His stuff. Yeah. If you're in a bad space, highly recommend.
That's hilarious. All right. Well, let's listen to the next one.
Oh, man. What a hard topic. I feel we all go through it, and it's such a hard space to be. Recovering from a breakup for sure is one of the hardest things we will undergo in life. When you are heartbroken, you try all kind of things to get better. Well, I can talk for me personally, but I feel like everybody does this. Like, I mean, we go to therapy, we meditate, we eat cookies and creams, we watch movies, we go to yoga, we listen to music, you talk to friends, get advice, go for hikes, plan a trip to India, try to get healed with lights and crystals. Listen to podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts and videos when I'm at work. Read books, heal your childhood traumas, hit pillows, scream. Oh my gosh. We do it all because it's definitely not a good place to be, and it can be very sad, depressing, and dark. But for me, the best way to go through a breakup is to be definitely extra patient and compassionate with myself. Also to understand that it is part of this human experience. Not everything always gonna be beautiful and light and happy. We have to go through the darkness too, and the sad, to appreciate the good. And then I feel like I have to take my time with it to feel all those emotions and let them out. It's not good to let them in, to make sure to relieve all that pain, and definitely to love myself a lot through it all. I don't know, I feel like breakups are like a journey. Just like falling in love is a journey. It takes time, it takes patience. The only thing that when you are falling in love, you feel all those butterflies inside of you. And when you are going through a breakup, you feel more like dragons are inside of you, freaking having a weird party in there. Oof. Everybody pulling different directions and everybody throwing fire different directions. But we have to welcome them both. We have to welcome the butterflies, enjoy them, feel them, appreciate them, and then welcome the dragons too, because they're part of it. And we need to appreciate them both and deal with them, and just be ready for the ride. Definitely is hard to put your heart out there over and over again, but we should not be afraid to do so. it is worth it. It is worth it to feel all those highs and to give and receive love, for sure. And we definitely need more love around us. And we need to remember that anybody can learn how to love better. For those that are going through a breakup right now, I hope this helped. And I'm sending you a huge hug. It's not a fun place to be, but you will survive. You will go through it, and you will be a better person when you feel better, and you will be more wise and strong, and hopefully you learn the lessons to take to the future. And for those that have broken up with others, I hope you gave them closure, because we need that.
So that was our friend Dariella. She's actually been on the podcast before. If you recognized her voice, she's one of the founders of Second Friday. And she's been going through it, that's for sure, the past few months. So I really appreciate her being willing to share that insight, especially since it's so fresh for her. I like the added touch, too, of having the song The Night We Met playing in the background. That's one of those like painful songs like I can barely listen to sometimes.
Right. Oh my gosh. I don't even know the song you're talking about. I'll have to find
Oh,
out.
you don't? I'll have to send it to you. Lord Huron.
Oh, I love Lord. Oh, of course. Okay. I didn't know you listened to them. Okay. Yeah, I know who that is. Yeah.
Oh,
terrible.
That song stabs me in the heart every time.
Yeah. They're a great band. My takeaway with her was it's worth it. Like, she's like, you have to like go from the butterflies to the dragons. They're both part of it, and it's worth it. I think sometimes, you hear people say like, it's not worth it. Like, I'm done. And it's like, it is.
My heart's too broken.
Right. My heart's too broken.
And I think I can understand that. Like, sometimes in the moment it is too broken. Mm-hmm. It's too broken to move on. It's too open to think about someone else. But like she's saying, all the stuff that you do in the meantime, the yoga, the meditation, the therapy, the journaling, the eating,
the cookies and cream,
of that, all of that is what pushes you through that difficult time. And like eventually your heart starts to open up again.
And you learn.
Right. Like she said, it's part of the human experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great message. Like, this heartbreak is just part of life. It sucks. It hurts. But it does like make you more appreciative once that person does come along. It's like really the perfect fit for you.
And you grow in each relationship. So it is like you're showing up the next time a better version of you. I mean, I can't even imagine, so much has changed for me in my relationship. Like, I'm not the same woman I was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think that you grow, you evolve. Like, I'm less reactive now. I'm calmer. I'm like, stuff doesn't rattle me quite as much. Like, I'm less possessive. So I think you grow. And then the next relationship is like this different version of you you learn, like Jamie would say, people are there to teach you something. And it may not be a forever lesson. It might be a 6-month lesson. It might be a 10-year lesson.
But the worst heartbreak is when you think it's your person and then it turns out to be another lesson.
Yeah.
Like, that part sucks. I'll share something that my therapist said to me a few years ago when I was going through a breakup and I was having a really hard time with it. She was like, you are placing so much weight on this being linked to this specific person. And that love is within you. It is not just nothing to do with that other person.
Interesting.
Like,
okay,
you're the one that brought that love to the table, and that love is in you and can be true again with another person. That really helped snap me out of it. This person had a lot of incompatibilities with me that I just couldn't see. I had the blinders on. But as time went on, it's like, oh no, we weren't a good fit. And like, I can love like that again, for sure. Like, I have the capability of being a good, present, caring partner.
Right.
Loving.
For sure.
So.
And I love that too. And I love also that, in a relationship, if you feel like you want it so badly and they really don't, or they don't make the effort to try to connect or engage or follow up with the plan, or like if it feels like it's always you and then it ends and you're heartbroken, it's like, I want you just to know that wasn't the person for you. Like, you don't, in the end, it's better to move on and open up space for new community and new breath of life that there wasn't room for before. I remember saying that to you, Melissa, a long time ago, that like you have to make space, let that person go.
Yeah. And that's just it. You cannot, if you are attached to someone else, you can go out there and date, but you're not going to be able to attach to someone else when you are still
you're not even open to it. You don't even see it. So it's like you're not even aware that there's opportunities out there. And so you have to open up that bandwidth and have a hole there for a minute until you can fill it with whatever that is. It might be your work. It might be community. It might be a new love interest. It might be, who knows what it's going to be. But as long as you keep it stuffed, ruminating on somebody who you know isn't good for you, there's nothing new that's coming your way.
That hole, like you're talking about, that being alone is temporary.
It is temporary.
And wouldn't you rather have that space of being alone for a temporary time than to have a forever with someone who's just not fully in it with you or somehow hurting you, or, you're walking on eggshells, fighting all the time? Like, why do you want that forever?
Right.
Because you're afraid of temporarily being alone.
Exactly. That's it. And I know how that feels. I relate to that. It's like you have to get over the fear and move forward. And I think it is hard to have a hole there for a minute that you're used to, you have dreams with this person. So it's hard to just let that go.
For sure. Well, do we want to listen to our next
let's
audio
listen
clip?
to our next heartbreak.
Oh, breakups. We've all been through them, and they look different. There's so many different types of breakups. There's a mutual breakup. There is a slow, drawn-out breakup. There is a breakup that feels like it comes out of nowhere. And that's the one I'm going to speak to because I think that's the hardest one to get over. When a breakup comes out of nowhere, it is a forced goodbye, one that you're not choosing. And because it's a goodbye we aren't prepared to say, it can feel like a sudden death. So with that in mind, I think it's best to grieve the relationship, grieve the person that you're going to miss, grieve the person that you saw yourself as when you were in this relationship, and then start thinking about your future without this person. Start making plans, start envisioning how great your life is going to be. Start making that a practice and try to focus on what your life will be like in a positive way without the person that you're currently grieving. And over time, that thought process, that practice will become your reality. And before you know it, you've moved on. There's really no such thing as getting over a breakup, in my opinion, just like there's no such thing as getting over grief. I think they're very similar. You learn to live with it. You learn to grow from it. You take the lessons and you move forward. Life is too short to stay stagnant and still and tread the waters of grief and mourning. We've got things to do, a life to live, and love to give.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Like Christine is just such a beautiful person, and her voice is just so she teaches yoga.
Exactly. Actually, everyone's I was thinking, all their voices are so calming,
right?
Compared to mine is
can I just fall asleep?
Exactly. It reminds me. Actually, I was going to tell Christine, we do yoga nidras all the time in my house, probably 3 nights a week. We do it, and her voice is perfect for that. And people pay for nidras. I mean, she could
That's what I said to
them.
her this morning when she sent me the clip. I was like, you sound like the yoga guru.
She needs to sure. have a channel that does nidras. Now you're closing.
I'm sure it's
your
on
eyes.
her lips.
Exactly. Anyway, no, there were so many good nuggets in that one.
Yeah, I really like the point that she makes about like the different types of breakups, and that sudden breakup really is the worst kind.
Yeah.
It just takes you off guard, and it is like a death.
Yeah, it's like, what happened? What did I do? What's wrong with me?
There's so many questions that come up with those.
Right.
It's like when there's cheating, it's kind of like, okay, like you have the ability to be angry about it and like F them, like move
Lose
on,
the trust.
that kind of thing.
I think too, like we build a picture in our mind of what our life is going to be in relationship to this other person. And Christine mentions that, which is you're grieving the person that you saw yourself as in this relationship. So it's like, in my relationship now, I'm a mother of 4 kids, of a blended family. My partner has been to a lot of events with me at the kids' school. Like we go to soccer together. We have a life that we're building together. And so it's like you extrapolate that 20 years down the road. And then if it ends, it's like, oh my God, now who am I? Now, am I showing up? And what happened like to my other half that was part of this picture that I created?
And having to explain to people all around you what's going on.
Where is Maria?
Yeah, it sucks. And also too, when it's so fresh, it's like, it's hard to talk about.
Maybe it's not really over. You're still in denial.
It feels final. So final to like say that kind of thing.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, it's done for sure. Well, I wanted to wrap up this episode with like some of the things that I have found useful. I guess I should clarify this too. I've had a lot of people reach out to me asking if Marina and I are back together. We are working things out. There's no labels here, but neither of us are dating other people. So, but definitely we've both been doing a lot of like healing work on our own the past few months. And I feel like this experience has kind of helped me in a lot of ways and like kind of dissecting myself and figuring out how to get through it when you're not sure about the future of your partner. Of course, top of my list is always podcasts. Those like my go-to. But while I listen to like a lot of like healing podcasts, like the Self-Love Fix is one that I really like. On Purpose with Jay Sheedy, I really like him. I do enjoy listening to those kind of like healing podcasts, but at the same time, sometimes you need to take a little brain break. So I'll listen to like some true crime, I do a lot of audiobooks. The book by Jeanette McCurdy, it's called I'm Glad My Mother Died. Have you listened to that?
I've heard of it, but I haven't though.
It's really good. Doesn't really have anything to do with coming out later or anything like that. Is more of like a mother-daughter trauma book, but it's really good. I also will watch TV, stick to like comfort shows because I have a really hard time like focusing on like a new show when like my brain is so scattered. The other thing that I would recommend is of course journaling. That always helps, writing stuff down. And so that way you can kind of see how you progress, like write it down, put the date. So you see how like you are progressing and getting better, but also to like find some stuff that like you didn't do when you were with your partner or things that you can do alone, like new hobbies, things that you want to learn how to do. Like bought a new car, like did a lot of stuff to it. I started on some home projects, like just kind of keeping myself busy. I also worked a lot. Like anytime that I'm really going through a hard time, I'm like, well, time to pack my schedule of work. So I think, just really shifting any focus that you can off of that pain. And at the same time, journaling, allowing yourself to process it, but not letting it rule your whole day.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And then I would add to that, like joining things, whether it be like the low that we mentioned, and then make yourself like show up for an event or, other things like that, like meetups and online. If you find a group that has similar interests, make yourself go. I've even thought about like the gym is such a like cliche place, but it is like a place to go to do something productive that takes you out of your space. So I think that, could be a place that you escape to. For me, like if I know I have something hard or I'm going through it, I run. I don't, I know that that's a way to get endorphins. It's, I feel like I did something good for myself. Like I don't know that it heals all my problems, but to me, that's a way that I know I'm going to show up better than I did before if I run.
That is something that I was doing. I have been busy the past few weeks, but I was just going for like the shortest run
Yeah,
like a few days a week.
Yeah.
Just like to get my heart pumping, my blood flowing, all of that. And I was like, I need to feel this in my body, like remind myself I'm still alive.
Yeah. And it does just make your mind like, I don't know. I just always get something out of it. Another thing that somebody mentioned in our question that they do this, and I do this too, is go to a bookstore that has a coffee shop or get books and go to a coffee shop. But, and just sit there. Like sometimes I'll go to Barnes and Noble and I'll pick out like 6 books and I'll read the first chapter of each one and then see which one grabs me and then get that one. But
oh, interesting.
Yeah. And it's like you're reading it, eating it, drinking a Starbucks and like reading these first chapters, your mind you start to get hopeful.
We had a lot of good messages too on books that are helpful during this. One is the Abandonment Recovery Workbook, and then How to Do the Work by Dr. Nicole LaPera. She's great. That's a great person to follow, holistic therapist on Instagram. This person said gratitude journaling, friends, of course, stand-up comedy on TikTok.
Oh, I like that.
That's a great suggestion.
Let me tell you something really wild. One of the people that responded lives in Arizona. And a friend of ours, a friend of the pod, moved out to Arizona not that long ago. And I just on a whim, like randomly connected them. And would you know they live 2 streets apart in the same neighborhood?
Really?
Is that nuts?
Wow.
2 streets apart.
Dang.
And
see, that's the universe.
Already making plans to get together.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, they'll just, and I literally said, I'm jealous because you guys are going to have a blast. They're both cool, fun, 2 streets apart. They can walk to each other's house.
That's amazing.
I mean, out on the complete other coast. Like, it's just nuts to me that there is, like, the universe is working.
I can't remember if I've mentioned this on the podcast or not, but I just had a listener reach out to me, fairly new listener, and she lives in Peachtree City.
Right.
And we went and had dinner like a few weeks ago. It was great.
Amazing. Yeah. So, and I think that's how you build community. And then she knows people and you know people.
Yeah.
And yeah. Before you know it, you've got a whole friend gang.
A whole crew.
A whole squad. Exactly.
What would a group of lesbians be called?
Oh, let's come up with a fun term. Well, I hope that people got something out of this, even if it's just try one thing and see how it does. And then get excited. Get excited about what's out there.
Excited.
Yeah. Like, that's
like going
true.
back to like that love is attached to you. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with that person that you were with. So get excited about the fact that you're going to have that love again. And it's going to be better and more comfortable, more than you could have imagined.
That's exactly right. Like, I think start to put the past in the past and get excited about what you're opening yourself up to.
Don't get too comfortable either with that pain.
Yeah.
Like, I think sometimes it gets comfortable to be that person that's in pain and that person that's like, oh, like, yeah, I'm going through it. Like, sit in that for a little bit, but don't let it weigh you down. Don't let it keep you from moving forward.
For sure. That's great advice. All right, my friend.
All right. Peace out.
Peace out.
Want to support the Lesbian Chronicles podcast? Rate us and write a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
We love listener feedback. If you'd like to share your story, email us at melissaandalli@gmail.com. That's Melissa, MELISA, and Alli, ALLI, @gmail.com. Or follow us on Instagram at Lesbian Chronicles.